In today's video, we'll be looking at why 60% of retirees retire at the wrong time and why retirement is much closer than you think. Over our years in financial planning, we've helped hundreds of clients retire much sooner than they ever expected. And that's why we're making this video today, to pull back the curtain on why 60% of retirees retire at the wrong time. Let's get into it. In a previous video, I put together a case study for Doug and Teresa, a retired couple retiring in the Dallas area in Frisco, Texas, and wanting to know why they could not retire with $2.8 million saved. And in this video, I'm going to expand on that case study and talk about some more general ideas and also dig down into some specific reasons why such a high percentage of retirees just simply retire at the wrong time, why they don't retire sooner than they are financially capable of doing. And so first, I'm going to start out with just a couple of the main reasons, the main things that I've seen with folks that I've spoken to over the years, taught classes to, clients, etc. Some of the misconceptions around early retirement. So I would say by far one of the reasons, the biggest reason why people work until at least 65 is because of healthcare. How to solve the healthcare puzzle is a huge thing that holds people back. And, it makes sense. Most of us, we get our health insurance through work, and so it's not really something you think about until all of a sudden you think, oh, wait, when I don't have a job, how does this work, and can I afford it, and everything that's involved in that. So it can be very scary. Another major issue is misunderstandings around Social Security. So often I meet with people and they'll say something like, okay, I'm going to work until 67, or I'm going to work until 62 or 60, or 65, or whatever the reason is. And I'll say, okay. Is there anything special about that date, or, is there a reason for that you have that date in mind? And usually they'll say, oh, well, that's when I plan to take Social Security. They're thinking, so often the idea in people's minds is first start with, when am I going to claim Social Security? And then the assumption is, okay, I have to work until that age and claim Social Security. The idea of retiring on one date and then not waiting to claim Social Security until a future date is something that a lot of people that kind of don't realize, oh yeah, that's something that I could do. So misunderstandings around Social Security and factoring that in. The third reason is just misunderstandings around not having a structured investment plan. Misunderstandings about how to set up investments when you're retired so that you can replace your stream of income. Turn your lifetime worth of saving and hard work and investing, how to convert all of that into an income stream, inflation adjusted for the rest of your life. And there's so much online that I've read about this, and when I talk to people, often when I'm meeting with them for retirement assessments, they'll show me their investment plan they've put together and how they're thinking about replacing income. And I'll say that even with very well-informed people that have just have done a ton of research and are like way above average in their financial knowledge, often there's just the ideas that I see as far as replacing income are, they're just, I'm surprised that seems to be that's an area where so many people struggle with creating an income plan. And I'll say this from my perspective for almost my entire career working in financial planning has been with retirees, with people who are early retirees and kind of traditional retirees. And the bulk of the work that I do is, turning investments into, creating custom, retirement plans. Kind of blown away by how difficult it is to convert all those different buckets of money into an income stream. I'm not even to talk about taxes. I'm not going to go so much into that for this video. And the last thing that I found that keeps people from retiring when they are financially able to is they don't have a purpose or don't have much of a life outside of work. And usually that doesn't come out right away. It's not like somebody says, oh, I'd like to retire, but I don't have a life outside of work. I mean, at least I've never had somebody just be that frank with me. What I see more often is meeting with someone and going through all their things, all their finances and their plans, and it's like really obvious that they're very well prepared, they're ready to retire financially, yet they just seem kind of unable to. There's always kind of some reason why they have to keep working, one more year or something like that, and usually with time those types of insights can come out in conversations of, you just realize, that you get most of your social interaction, your self-worth, your status. A lot of that stuff, it's all tied through your employment. And so, you go from being, the successful person who's responsible for big projects and big teams and big budgets and interesting, innovative things. You go from being in the center or being, in charge of those types of things to being in charge of doing the dishes, being in charge of, just think of, you don't, all of a sudden you're ripped out of that environment where you have high standing, and you're put in a new environment where you're kind of the new guy. You're the new guy in the retirement community. And so that can be very jarring. And who's got a perfect vision of exactly what retirement's going to be like? That might be a little too much to ask. To have some good ideas about what you'd like to pursue, some things that would be of interest to you, if at least you have some clarity around some of the big ideas, some of the big things you like to do in retirement, that can provide enough of a framework to help you kind of mentally and emotionally transition to the next phase of life. So, just some thoughts from having seen this with a lot of people. I want to address with some actual data these different concerns. So healthcare, and if you watch any of my YouTube videos before, I tackle the issue of early retirement, healthcare a lot because it's such a big deal for people. And a significant number of people that I interact with, that seems to be the big issue. So that's why I do a lot of content around it to help people understand. I'm going to pull up I looked up some plans for healthcare. So just kind of give you an idea of what retirement healthcare can look like. So what we're looking at here is a health insurance plan for two 62-year-olds in Texas, in the Frisco, Texas area, north of Dallas. All right, so for this couple, we're looking at two 62-year-olds, and there's a lot of sticker shock when folks apply for healthcare. So this is a plan under the Blue Cross Blue Shield of Texas. It's a gold plan, which kind of in the hierarchy of plans on the healthcare exchange, it means it's kind of a more premium plan, includes more stuff. So normally this plan, without any subsidies or help, this plan would cost $2,425 a month for husband and wife, 62 years apiece. Without subsidies, this plan would cost over $2,400 for two people. So $1,200 per person. And for most people who are working, you work for a big company or something, that is a lot of money. And so with subsidies, without going into detail about how to qualify for those, this is a couple, and on paper, their income is going to be $75,000 a year, and they would qualify for a tax credit of $1,800 a month. So what this means is the government's going to say, okay, you want that $2,400 a month health insurance plan? Sounds great. How about this? How about we pay for $1,800 and you cover the rest? So for two people, you went from paying $2,400 a month to paying $618 a month. Now all of a sudden we're talking about about $310 a month per person for a plan that, it has a high max out of pocket, but it's got a pretty low deductible, good overall coverage. It's going to get you, it's going to take care of what generally most people need in retirement. And this is really just a bridge from age 62 to age 65 when you can switch over to Medicare. And so not knowing that you can find affordable health insurance as a retiree is a huge reason why people retire much later than they should. I do have some maybe some quick thoughts before I move on to the next item here. You'll have to forgive me, I'm going on a little bit of a tangent, or I don't know. This is something in a phone call recently with someone that I met through YouTube. This occurred to me at answering some questions for this person, which kind of partially influenced how I'm thinking about doing this video, which is that when it comes to creating a retirement plan, I think I forget how complex and difficult this stuff is for somebody coming into it fresh. Or, you're coming into it new, you're trying to learn all of this stuff that you have heard about, or there is each one of the topics that goes into a retirement plan is something that can take, months or years to kind of master and understand that thing. Because I went to school, studied this stuff, got my bachelor's and master's degree in financial planning, and then I got work experience working in this area for over 10 years. And then I have taught college courses on this. I kind of all of a sudden you kind of forget just how complex these things are coming into this. And I love working with DIY investors and helping them create their own retirement plans, or looking at the retirement plans that they've put together and helping them to make some tweaks, optimize them, make them better. But there are so many things that to get the most out of a plan, to get the most out of your retirement financially, you really have to understand. And one of the things that's tough for a DIY investor or retiree is that even if you're working with some professionals, like you have a tax person, you have somebody who helps you buy health insurance or whatever, you're managing investments. It's really hard to get somebody to give you advice on everything and really help you make the most out of your retirement. So for example, you might try to buy health insurance and qualify for subsidies. So you go to the health insurance agent, or you go online to buy your own plan, whatever, and they say, okay, well, what's your income? And you're like, you tell them a number, and maybe you're wrong, maybe you're kind of making it up, or you're giving your best estimate. But unless you have a very detailed understanding of your taxes, and unless you have like a structured cash flow plan, knowing what's coming from where and when, and how each of those components is taxed, and how each of those income sources applies to the definitions of income for healthcare, then you're gonna be off base here. And so the health insurance person or broker or whatever doesn't have the tax knowledge they know that subsidies are there, and they know that, hey, if somebody has this income, they're going to get a bigger subsidy than if they have this income. But they don't know how to guide you in how to structure your income sources, or in order to really maximize those subsidies in a way that makes sense for your big plan. Then the tax person, they're going through your taxes, and they're looking typically at just the year in front of them and maybe the year behind you, and they're trying to help you kind of figure out how to save taxes for that one year. Well, they might give you great guidance on something you could do last minute to kind of lower your tax bill, but how does that fit into the whole strategy of your entire retirement plan? Okay, do they know what your expected income sources and plans are for year 15 or year 25, let alone year 5 in your retirement? Okay, unless they have that big picture, that person isn't capable of giving you good tax planning advice for the current year, because good advice for that year depends on having a knowledge of your cash flows for the rest of your retirement. And then when it comes to to Social Security, probably one of the most common things that I see is people will ask the person that does their taxes, what should I do with Social Security? Because these are more often than not very competent, ethical professionals, and so surprising, they go to them with money questions. But that a CPA doesn't learn about Social Security when they're in business school and taking accounting classes, right? That's not a requirement. And so you're just going to get a hodgepodge of answers that are not based in, okay, what is the best approach for this person? So when it comes to retirement planning, or when it comes to investing even, what's the best way to invest? This asset allocation based on your age, like who cares what your age is? Like, I need to know what are your planned cash flows, and then I can map out your investments to fit along with your retirement plan. And unless somebody has taken a big step back and looked at that, how are they going to give you good investment advice, good investment direction? So all of this is to say is that with a good retirement plan, even if you have professionals that you're working with, somebody, whether it's you or it's a financial planner that specialize in working with retirees and even better people in early retirement, unless you have somebody who can step back and has a bird's eye view of the entire situation, the lay of the battlefield, what's happening, and understands the big picture strategy, then you can't get good direction at each one of these siloed, kind of disciplines or areas, right? It's possible to do on your own. It's possible to do it from, at least for a season on your own. And I help people do that. But I'll just say that oftentimes, at a minimum, you need to get some help from somebody that really knows what they're doing. And then often it also means, hey, you know what? I don't want to give up total control of my plan. I want to be involved, right? And I don't want to just overpay, and especially nobody wants to pay fees to a financial advisor who doesn't know anything. It isn't able to give them real advice. More often than not, it's going to be the best outcome, the best situation is going to be to hire good, ethical, competent expertise, someone to guide you along. So that's my little tangent. I'll get back to the details now. And if you haven't, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And I'm always coming out with videos to address specific issues that early retirees face to help you better be prepared, to help you better prepare for retirement. So coming back here, let's talk about misunderstandings about Social Security. First misunderstanding that I see often is people think I have to work all the way until I claim Social Security and then I can retire, without realizing, no, you can retire at 60 and wait until 70 to claim Social Security. You could retire at 50 and wait until 70 or 67 or whatever age to claim your Social Security. That's kind of like a first layer of misunderstanding. You don't have to claim Social Security as soon as you retire. You can wait. Now, the second question is, the follow-up question, will stopping work, will that impact your future benefit? And the answer is yes. However, sometimes it'll impact it a little bit or it'll impact it a lot. Now, to really know how much early retirement is going to impact your Social Security benefit, you have to do a projection based off of your historical earnings history and run a projection to do that. And I've got some other videos on the channel where I talk about that, how to figure out your Social Security for an early retiree. But you can't just take the number that's on the statement. And this is especially relevant for someone who is, if you're retiring like in your early 50s, then it's going to, then if you stop working in your 50s and then you wait until 67 or 62 even or 70 to claim your Social Security benefit, that person, this step is even more relevant for them versus somebody who retires at 60 and then waits until 67 or 70 to claim Social Security, because it will impact it, will reduce it. But in order to do good planning, you need to understand, okay, what is the impact of that going to be? So you can go on to Social Security, SSA.gov, and have a calculator where you can map in and put in your earnings history. And I've got other videos, one specifically on that. The other misunderstanding that I want to address is not having an investment plan. And when you don't have an investment plan to map out how you should be invested, usually what it means is you're either not investing for enough growth to make up for inflation, or you're investing too aggressively and you don't have that right balance. Now, what is that right balance? It's not some percentage of like 60% stocks and 40% bonds. In my opinion, that's not the starting point. The starting point is to take a step back, look at your projected cash flows, right? When is Social Security going to kick in? When is some pension going to start? What other income sources do you have? And then you can map and you can overlay those income sources with your investment portfolio. And there's some optimization to kind of figure out what's the right mix, the timing to claim different income sources. But all of that is going to impact how you invest. So if in years 1 through 3 of your retirement, 100% of your income, of your cash flow is coming from the portfolio, okay, well, you're going to need a chunk of money set aside very conservatively to account for those 3 years of heavy draw on the portfolio. When you've mapped out your portfolio, you now know that, okay, in year 17 of retirement, I'm only taking out, I'm taking out a very small percentage of my portfolio at that time. 90% of my income is coming from Social Security and a pension or rental income or whatever. I'm going to depend very little on my portfolio for income. And it's not until a very long time in the future. So I can afford to, and in fact, the least risky thing to do is to take a diversified growth approach and invest for the future to deal with the major issue that retirees face, which is inflation. Once you have that general idea of when cash flows are going to happen, the next layer is you have to know what accounts you're drawing from. So if in those first 3 years of retirement, it's all coming out of an IRA, okay, so your IRA is the account that's going to have to be invested very conservatively to have a chunk of money set up for those first 3 years of cash flow. But if you're managing for taxes and health insurance, you might be pulling money from different accounts. And so you have to find that balance of where is the money coming from, and not only, investments versus pensions or other sources, but what account is it going to come from to manage your taxes and to manage access to subsidized healthcare. These are all reasons why people end up working longer than they really need to. Anyway, this video is a little bit different than ones I've done in the past. I'm a little more talking off the cuff about some issues that I've seen, but hopefully this has been helpful. And now that you know why 60% of retirees retire at the wrong time and why retirement is much closer than you think it is, I want to leave you with this one thought. Since this is only a generalized YouTube video, we can't sit down with you and look at your exact situation. This means we can't give you tailored advice that pertains to your specific retirement situation. Between tax efficiency, withdrawal strategies, and risk management, we found that proper retirement planning is much more complicated than general advice online, general YouTube videos. If you want to fully optimize your plan for retirement, click the link in the description and we'll see you in the next one.